Welcome to Feelin Seen with Dean, the show where real confidence starts on the inside. Hosted by Dean Michael. Let's get into it.
I looked older at 25 than I do right now. And it had nothing to do with biological age. It was how I was living. Because I lived the first 27 years of my life stressed, reactive, constantly trying to keep up. And I used to wonder, why do I look older than I feel? Why does everything in my life feel so out of control? But everything changed. When I stopped surviving and started living, that's when my energy shifted. And that is when people started to take notice. That is when I started aging in reverse. So, what actually causes someone to age faster? And more importantly, what makes someone age backwards? Most people don't realize this, but my body lived in fight or flight, constantly in a sympathetic state. I was always running behind, always thinking ahead, constantly stressed about any and everything that was out of my control. And that wasn't just mental, it was starting to show up physically. Everything shifted when I started to slow down. I started to focus on what I can control and vice versa, starting to let go of what I could not control. I started walking more instead of rushing. I started focusing on controlling my breathing. I stopped over expecting from people. And in doing all of these things, my body finally felt safe. Less cortisol, less inflammation, and more repair internally. That is when I started aging in reverse. But even after I created all of that calmness internally, something I was doing every day was still working against me. It was what I was eating. And to be fair, I always thought I was a clean eater. But after everything I have gone through, I realized something. Clean does not always mean intentional. Now I eat for a purpose. High protein for muscle retention, vegetables for fiber and to assist with my digestion, and lower carbs used intentionally. I'm not just eating to feel full. I'm eating to help my body repair itself. And when your digestion improves, when inflammation in your body starts to decrease, your body reflects it. Clearer skin, more stable energy, less internal stress. That is what I call aging in reverse, from the inside out. But I learned something the hard way. You can fuel your body perfectly and still break it down if you're training your body the wrong way. I became, and still am, obsessed with bodybuilding. I've always had dreams that one day I plan to compete. So for years, I have bulked, but during that time, the extra weight I gained made my osteoarthritis, which had been a problem in my past due to soccer, it made that issue much worse. And I had to be honest. Was I building my body or was I damaging it? That is when I had a big mental shift. I stopped training for aesthetics and started training for longevity. I prioritized mobility, stability, functional movements, just as well as functional strength. And since then, it's been about 4 years since I've had any symptoms of my osteoarthritis. And you want to know what I call that? Aging in reverse. But even when your body feels good, there's another layer that affects how you age, your focus, and even your environment. I'm naturally introverted, I'm a loner, and I am an empath. And for a long time, I was always looking outward, comparing myself, observing others, measuring my success to others' people's success. I truly feel I started aging in reverse once I started prioritizing watering my own grass, focusing on my life, my relationships, my personal growth, and that peace. Your body just reflects it. Even with peace, something was still missing. There was a time in life where I truly felt like I was just going through the motions. And I learned when you are not connected to something meaningful, life feels heavy. But being a therapist gave me drive. Not only caring for, but just seeing my patients every day gave me a sense of why. And after being hospitalized over 5 times with chronic GI issues myself, I learned I don't just treat people, I understand them, I see them, and I value them. And having that connection with my patients gives me energy, and having that energy not only fuels me, but also keeps me young and aging in reverse. But none of that works if you do not prioritize recovery. I used to stay up till 1 a.m. scrolling. Then I always woke up exhausted, wondering, why do I look older every morning? But now I prioritize sleep. I prioritize earlier nights, having intentional mornings, and even taking a nap throughout the day when needed. Because recovery is not being lazy, it's necessary. That's what allows my body to keep aging in reverse. But the biggest lesson I learned did not come from me. My father-in-law is 80 years old, but if you all met him, he does not live like someone whom believes they are 80 years old. And he showed me this. If you believe you can still go, you will. So what are you telling yourself about your age? I lived in survival for 27 years. And when I started living, everything changed. And a lot of that came from being okay being alone, which is exactly what I broke down in my last podcast. The traits of people who have few quality friends, because having those traits assist as well in helping you continue to age in reverse. I'm going to link that video right here. I would highly recommend you watch that video next, and it might explain more than you think. So I will see you there.